In the scorching apocalypse, my sister was determined to live like the fragile, pampered heroine of a post-apocalyptic billionaire romance. She gasped dramatically, "It's so hot outside." Imagine a possessive billionaire romance unfolding during the apocalypse. How thrilling would that be? I earnestly advised her. In the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable. Relying on beauty to please others won't last. It's better to face the hardships early and work hard to awaken your own abilities. Besides, that man already had a first love he had never gotten over. After much persuasion, my sister finally decided to face the apocalypse with me. Through hard work, she awakened her water manipulation power and became a survival powerhouse. Unexpectedly, Gu Shiyan grew stronger and stronger, teaming up with his best friend to become the ruler of a base. Later, I heard that shortly after my sister left, the CEO found a proud and beautiful woman, and the two brothers doted on her like a precious gem, showering her with luxury. That proud beauty bore an 80% resemblance to my sister. My sister hated me to the bone for this. During an expedition for supplies, she pushed me off a tall building. As I lay dying, her face twisted with rage. "If it weren't for you, I would have been the little princess of the apocalypse. Why should I have to endure all this suffering? It's all your fault." Unexpectedly, when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the very beginning of the scorching apocalypse. "Miss One, have you made up your mind? Do you want to come with me?" A deep voice sounded. I jolted awake, looking at the man sitting across from me. Gu Shiyan, the only son of the Gu family, the wealthiest in City A. The pain of a fractured spine was still vivid, and at that moment, I clearly realized I had been reborn. Reborn at the beginning of the scorching apocalypse, when my sister Wenqing caught Gu Shiyan's eye. Though it was already autumn, the temperature kept rising. The outdoor temperature during the day had climbed from an initial 40 degrees to 45, 50, until now, nearly 60 degrees, with no sign of cooling down. Under these conditions, humans could no longer stay outdoors for long. Schools suspended classes, factories halted production, many public facilities shut down, and most people worked and studied from home. At first, everyone cheered for the rare break, until widespread high-intensity electricity usage caused intermittent blackouts in most areas, plunging people into panic. Hoarding supplies, inflating prices, everyone was on edge. Before the city descended into complete chaos, I drove out overnight with supplies, planning to take my sister Wenqing to the countryside to escape the heat. At the gas station, I ran into Gu Shiyan, who was also heading out of the city to avoid the heat. Wenqing's eyes sparkled with anticipation, but she pretended to be reserved. "Sister, should we go with Mr. Gu?" In my past life, I saw through her intentions and quickly pulled her aside to analyze the pros and cons. "Gu Shiyan is no relation of ours. He's willing to take you now only because he's taken a liking to your looks. In the apocalypse, people's hearts are unpredictable. Relying on your beauty to serve others won't last long. It's better to face the difficulties early and work hard to awaken your own abilities." I'm a fan of apocalyptic novels and follow many forums and groups. Coincidentally, I saw a video in one of the groups where a powerful survivor had awakened a supernatural ability. Although the video was almost instantly deleted, I still caught a glimpse of him waving his hand and forming ice. That person said he had accidentally consumed a plant with ice crystals and gave a fairly detailed account. To persuade Wenqing not to act impulsively, I shared all the information I knew, but she didn't listen at all. In fact, she seemed a little excited. "Sister, have you ever read apocalyptic romance novels?" Gu Shiyan is the wealthy and powerful heir of the Gu family, with a handsome face and a great body, full of sexual tension. And me, I have a narrow waist, round hips, and a cute, voluptuous figure. I'm practically the real-life female lead of an apocalyptic romance novel. It's scorching hot outside, and a possessive billionaire romance set during the apocalypse. How amazing would that be? I was almost speechless and had to pour cold water on her. As everyone knows, Gu Shiyan has a runaway fiancé, the first love he had never gotten over. The news of Gu Shiyan chasing his wife at the airport in his luxury car had caused quite a stir at the time. After much deliberation, she finally decided not to go with Gu Shiryan. On the way to the suburbs to escape the heat, I not only took care of Wenqing's daily needs and emotions but even gave her the first ice crystal plant I found to help her awaken her abilities. Through constant energy accumulation, she became a strong survivor capable of thriving independently in the apocalypse. Unexpectedly, Gu Shiryan grew even stronger, becoming a dominant force in the apocalypse. Not only that, but he also found a beauty who resembled her and doted on her like a precious gem, showering her with endless wealth and luxury. Wenqing blamed me for everything and ruthlessly pushed me off a tall building. Thinking of this, I smiled. You're capable of making your own choices. I respect whatever you decide. Seeing me relent, Wenqing pulled me aside and whispered, looking a little embarrassed. But, I've only known him for 5 minutes. I gave her an encouraging look. Every relationship begins between strangers. If you think he's reliable, seize the opportunity. With someone of Gu Shiryan's status, if you miss this chance, you might not get another. She just needed someone to support her, not to seek advice. Wenqing happily ran over to Gu Shiryan, looking shy and timid. Gu Shiryan, I'm willing to go with you. In this life. If Wenqing wants to throw herself into his arms, of course, I won't stop her. After all, I'm also curious to see what will happen to her when that proud beauty is found. After Wenqing agreed to travel with Gu Shiryan, she arrogantly directed the bodyguards to move her luggage. When she left home, she brought an oversized suitcase and 2 large duffel bags, all filled with her clothes, bags, shoes, and cosmetics. I advised her not to bring so much and to leave room for food and daily necessities, but she wouldn't listen and even had a big fight with me over it. Of course, it ended with me giving in. Once her luggage was moved, the car's trunk was more than half empty. Wenqing wasn't in a hurry to leave. She leaned against the car door, lazily watching me pour gasoline into the tank. Sis, women don't need to be so tough. Why put yourself through all this hardship? Shiryan's team still needs a cook. If you say a few nice words to him, and I put in a good word, he might be willing to take you along. She had known him for only a few minutes and was already calling him Shiryan. I've been your free nanny for all these years. Even if I owed you a life in a past life, it should be paid off by now. Don't think too highly of yourself. Want me to be a free nanny? No way. In this life, I would no longer let family obligations restrain me. Wenqing probably didn't expect me to refuse, and in such harsh words, she was stunned for several seconds before snapping out of it. Fine, don't go then. No one cares about you anyway. Plenty of people are willing to come. She stamped her foot and shouted at the bodyguards, move these boxes of water, self-heating hot pots, and rice into Mr. Gu's RV. Don't forget the cooler in the back seat, it has ice water and ready-to-eat food. Leave the compressed biscuits behind. They're hard and taste awful. She sure knows how to plan ahead. The temperature kept rising, and prices changed daily. Once the outdoor temperature reached 60 or 70 degrees, even money couldn't buy things. Water and long-lasting food became treasures everyone fought over. When the average daytime temperature rose to over 50 degrees, I was at the supermarket fighting with a bunch of crazy middle-aged women for drinking water and almost got trampled to death. Wenqing didn't help at all. Instead, she cheerfully filmed a video of me carrying water and posted it on social media, saying I was worrying unnecessarily. Because of that post, countless people in my past life took notice. Neighbors kept coming to borrow water from me, and later even smashed the door of my house. If I hadn't left the city early, how could the two of us, both girls, have protected ourselves? The water and stored food I risked my life to keep, does she deserve to eat them? Quickly pressing the car key, I locked the trunk. In broad daylight, are you trying to rob me? Wenqing angrily pounded on the trunk. Why won't you let me take my things? You said it yourself. This is our shared supplies. Mom told you to take care of me before she passed. Do you want Mom to never rest in peace? There it was again. Whenever she had no argument, she'd drag out their deceased mother. I sneered, refusing to give an inch. Don't try to guilt-trip me with that biased mother of yours. I bought all this food and water with my own money and effort. Whether I give you any or not is entirely up to me. Growing up, Mom always made me give in to her. Even on her deathbed, she couldn't stop worrying about her. And I was only 2 years older. When Mom died, I had just started college, juggling school and part-time jobs. Afraid our stepfather wouldn't treat her well after remarrying, I sent her living expenses every month. After graduation, we worked in the same city, and I covered almost all living costs and chores. All because of Mom's dying words. I gave selflessly, only to end up dead. Why should I? Ignoring her wailing, I quickly slid into the driver's seat and locked the doors. Just as I was about to roll up the window, a strong hand reached in and grabbed my wrist. Gu Shiryan looked down at me with the coldness of a lifelong authority figure. You're Wen Miao, right? For Qingqing's sake, I'll allow you to come with us. Seeing Gu Shiryan, Wen Qing immediately melted against him, whining and tattling. Shiryan, my sister doesn't want to join the team. She says she doesn't want to be your free maid. The supplies in the car were supposed to be split evenly, but now she won't give me my share. The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she seemed, tears starting to fall. I'd actually give all the food to my sister, but the mini fridge has lots of local specialties I really wanted you to try. Gu Shiryan frowned, tightening his grip on my wrist, his tone growing impatient. Woman, I suggest you don't test my patience. I looked up, staring hard at Gu Shiryan. In that moment of distraction, my other hand reached for the center console and pulled out a stainless steel fruit fork. Without hesitation, I stabbed it ruthlessly into his arm. Ah, you crazy woman. I put all my strength into that stab. Blood dripped down Gu Shiryan's arm as he yelled, releasing my wrist and instinctively pulling back from the window. In that split second, I quickly started the car and floored the gas pedal. After driving several dozen meters, I forced down my pounding heart and dared to glance in the rearview mirror. There was Gu Shiryan, still standing with his arm raised, a bodyguard bandaging it while Wen Qing frantically handed him tools. Not daring to watch them further, I sped away. Gu Shiryan had many bodyguards. If they caught up with my current abilities, I might not escape unscathed. Watching the figures in the rearview mirror grow smaller and smaller, it felt like a rift was cutting me off from my past life. From now on, I would live for myself. Meeting Wen Qing again was half a month later, in a deserted villa area on the outskirts of a county. Sister, I didn't expect to run into you here. Wen Qing seemed to have forgotten the unpleasantness from before, greeting me with a bright smile. Her upper body was almost entirely pressed against Gu Shiryan's arm, her hips slightly raised, striking an odd pose. The daytime temperature had already soared to over 60 degrees, and even standing in the pavilion of the villa courtyard, the waves of heat in the air hit my face, stinging painfully. Instead of heading straight to the countryside self-built house as planned, I came to the place where I had discovered the ice crystal grass in my past life. Without her dragging me down, I arrived 3 days earlier than before and successfully found that special plant with white ice crystals among a cluster of withered grass. This route was neither the necessary path back to my parents' countryside house nor anywhere near Gu Shiryan's countryside villa. Logically, we shouldn't have crossed paths. It was too strange. Before I could think it through, Wen Qing spoke up like she was interrogating a criminal. Sister, when did you get here? Have you seen any special plants? Like flowers or grass covered in ice crystals? My heart skipped a beat. So far, the network hadn't been cut off, and quite a few people knew that absorbing mutated plants could grant special abilities. But her expression made it seem like she was certain there was a mutated plant here. Could it be that she had also been reborn? I pretended to be puzzled and replied, "Oh, you mean that little grass with fleshy leaves covered in ice crystals?" Before I could finish, Wen Qing's face lit up with a smile, and she turned to take credit. Shiryan, I told you. She must have kept the mutated grass for me. Gu Shiryan's furrowed brow gradually relaxed, and he reached out to pinch her waist. You little vixen. Tonight I'll make sure to give you all my attention. Humph. You're so bad. With Wen Qing's feigned proud snorts, Gu Shiryan pulled her into his arms and kissed her forcefully. Soon, the two were locked in a passionate embrace. Inseparable. The scene was truly an eyesore. I coughed, rudely interrupting their little moment. Hand it over. Annoyed by the interruption, Wenqing shot me a glare and extended her hand toward me. What? I played dumb. The mutant grass. Wenqing raised her voice. Didn't you always say it's better to rely on yourself than on others? I've thought it through. I want to awaken my ability. Give me the mutant grass. She acted as if it were only natural, as though agreeing to awaken her ability was some kind of favor to me. It was exactly the same as in my past life. Back then, I hadn't seen through her hypocrisy. Every time she absorbed a mutant grass, she acted as if I were forcing her, putting on a show of waiting for me to beg her to get stronger. In reality, it wasn't that she didn't want to become stronger herself, she just didn't want to put in the effort, hoping instead for a free ride. The mutant grass. You want it? I teased her, letting her anticipation build before slowly finishing my sentence. Sorry, but I finished it all 3 days ago. Wenqing wasn't convinced. You didn't save any for me. I don't believe you. Just take it out. She really thought she was something special. I flicked my wrist, and a shard of ice grazed her cheek, leaving a thin trail of blood. Believe me now. I grinned brightly, drawing on my experience from my past life. I had already obtained a mutant ice grass before coming to the villa district. Now, not only could I withstand the scorching heat outside, but I could also instantly form ice crystals and launch attacks. Gu Shiyan's bodyguards rushed over, 4 burly men, each nearly 1.9 meters tall, ready to surround me, but they were just ordinary people without awakened abilities, so I wasn't concerned. Just as I was about to strike again, Gu Shiyan quickly raised a hand to stop them. It's nothing. You all leave first. He knew when to back down, realizing he was no match for me. Without another word, he pulled Wenqing along and followed the bodyguards out. As they reached the edge of the pavilion, his displeased voice drifted back. Didn't you say getting the mutant grass was a sure thing? Now we've wasted time coming to this dump. Gu Shiyan was about to say more when Wenqing stood on her tiptoes and pressed a kiss to his lips. Then she whispered something in his ear. They exchanged a knowing smile before embracing again and resuming their passionate kissing. As she left, she turned back and shot me a smug grin. Wenqing and Gu Shiyan settled into the basement of the villa across the way. After using sunshade cloth and panels to insulate the villa's exterior, they fell silent. I, too, stayed put, but my daily routine became much more cautious. I parked the car in the villa's underground garage, essentially living and eating around the vehicle, never venturing far. Earlier, while passing through a town, I had stocked up on several large barrels of gasoline and bought plenty of food, filling every space left empty by Wenqing's moved-out luggage. With ice crystals and insulated boxes to keep things cool, I could still enjoy fresh meat and fruit, living quite comfortably. By my calculations, a heavy rain would come in 2 days, and then another ice crystal grass would sprout on the roof of the villa I was staying in. Once I harvested that grass, I would leave without delay. As for Wenqing, I would certainly make her suffer a bit. The night before the rain, a rare wind stirred the dead air, dropping the temperature significantly, with the body feeling only around 50 degrees. Seizing the opportunity, Wenqing dragged Gu Shiyan to appear before me again, flaunting their affection. Aren't you lonely all by yourself? She said, looking at me with pity, chattering on. Bodyguard Wang graduated from a sports university. Decent looking, though not as outstanding as Shiyan. He's more than enough for you. In this apocalypse, a girl like you isn't safe. If you were with Wang, and he awakened an ability too, your safety would be much more assured. Don't be ungrateful. At that moment, I was eating an ice cream, watching her lips move, feeling inexplicably irritated. Frowning, the ice crystal in my hand had already condensed. Wenqing flinched in fear, immediately hiding behind Gu Shiyan. What are you doing? I was only trying to help, and you're resorting to violence again. She instinctively covered her face. I had no patience left for this sisterly act and directly shot an ice crystal, hitting her knee. Wenqing cried out in pain, dropping to one knee, and screamed, Shiyan, tell Wang to shoot her. Gu Shiyan's eyes blazed with fury as he pulled Wenqing into his arms and waved at Wang outside the villa. Just then, an off-road vehicle pulled up outside the villa. I looked up and saw a petite figure jump out of the car. Shiyan. Long time no see. Her face bore a striking resemblance to Wenqing's. Oh wow. The proud beauty that Gu Shiyan doted on in my past life had arrived. Xia, why are you back? Gu Shiyan was stunned for a moment. Then a visible joy lit up in his eyes. What? Aren't you happy to see me back? Jiang Xiaxia smiled brightly, and when she turned to Wenqing, she curled her lips with a hint of displeasure. Who is this? She looks a bit like me. How could I not be happy? Gu Shiyan let go of his hand and unceremoniously pushed Wenqing aside. Jiang Xiaxia was very satisfied and opened her arms to him, and the two shared a deep embrace. Wenqing's face flushed with anger. Her gaze swept over me, sitting nearby watching the show, and she said to me as if in a fit of pique, since some people have found a new flame, maybe I should just go with you. After saying this, Wenqing cast a sidelong glance at Gu Shiyan, waiting for him to notice her displeasure. But he was completely immersed in the joy of reunion and had no time to pay her any attention. Unable to control her emotions any longer, Wenqing rushed forward and slapped Jiang Xiaxia across the face. You vixen. Don't think just because you look a bit like me, you can mess around with Shiyan. He's a man with a girlfriend. Jiang Xiaxia was stunned by the slap, her eyes instantly reddening as big tears rolled down her face. She looked at Gu Shiyan with a grievance, perfectly portraying the image of a sweet and innocent victim. Wenqing, have you lost your mind? Stung by his first love's tears, Gu Shiyan raised his hand toward Wenqing, ready to bring it down in a slap. You dare hit me? Don't forget my sister has ice powers. If you touch me, I'll have her kill this vixen. Wenqing lifted her chin stubbornly, defiance burning in her eyes. Gu Shiyan glanced in my direction and finally lowered his hand, his thoughts unknown. Get out of my territory. I have no interest in your messy relationships. I waved my hand impatiently, and a shard of ice flew past Jiang Xiaxia's cheek. Alright, we'll leave now. Gu Shiyan's attitude was surprisingly good as he ushered the two women out. Wenqing looked confused and reluctantly followed Gu Shiyan out the door. Early the next morning, Wenqing knocked on my car door. Sister, please, help me. She covered her cheek with one hand, her eyes red as she looked at me. I lowered the window just a crack and waited calmly for her to speak. She seemed a bit embarrassed, but after seeing that I hadn't driven her away, she began to complain angrily. That little bitch Jiang Xiaxia, just because she knows Shiyan a few days longer than me, she dared to hit me. A bright red handprint was clearly visible on Wenqing's face, her cheeks swollen high. So what? I took a sip of water, waiting for her to continue. Wenqing seemed to have made up her mind and slowly spoke. To be honest, I had a dream a few days ago, and I saw many incredible things. In that dream, this place will soon have a heavy rain, and after the rain, the temperature will rise sharply. Sister, you will pick a mutated grass covered in white fuzz and give it to me, and I will be able to awaken my powers. Sister, you already have ice powers. Please help me. She grabbed at my car window, pleading desperately. I was immature before. If I could be as strong as you, Gu Shiyan would treat me as politely as he treats you, and then I'll slap his face hard. I still just looked at her indifferently. Judging by her expression, the so-called dream probably wasn't as she described. She had just embellished it to ask me for the mutated grass again. Wenqing must have been reborn. I didn't expect that even after coming back, her mind was still only on men when trying to get the mutated grass. Your past immaturity is your own business. I have no reason to cover for you forever. Everything you face today is because of the choices you made back then. The path you chose, you have to walk it yourself. Seeing that I was unmoved, her gaze suddenly turned fierce. If you had told me back then that you could definitely find the mutated grass, would I have followed Gu Shiyan? Besides, now that you have the ability, you completely ignore whether I live or die. Is that how you honor Mom's spirit in heaven? I looked at her twisted expression and found it utterly baffling. The apocalypse is unpredictable. Who can guarantee they'll definitely find the mutated grass? Don't bring Mom into this. I advise you to leave now, before I'm forced to act. Wen Qing met my cold gaze and finally turned back reluctantly. Through the car window, I could still hear her wailing all the way. Just then, raindrops as big as beans began to fall from the sky, and soon everything outside was a blur of white. It seemed that before long, I could go search for new mutated grass. By the time the rain stopped, it was already noon. The scorching sun hung high in the sky, and the temperature in the air rose rapidly. The morning rain evaporated quickly within a short time. I looked around, and after confirming no one else was nearby, I quickly got up and headed upstairs to the villa. Following my memories from the previous life, I found the mutated grass covered in white icy crystal fuzz in a corner of the rooftop. In my past life, I discovered that the villa had its own spring well, and the automatic water pump on the rooftop would draw well water into the water tower. I went there hoping to find water resources in the tower. Unexpectedly, I stumbled upon a surprising gain. At that time, Wen Qing and I had already each consumed one mutated grass, and the scorching heat no longer affected us. And my foolish, kind-hearted older sister gave this rare mutated grass to her without hesitation. Little did I know that after consuming the mutated grass, it would awaken her spatial ability, laying a solid foundation for accumulating resources later on. The mutated grass grew rapidly before my eyes, soon reaching the size of a palm. I carefully uprooted it. In my palm, the mutated grass exuded a vibrant vitality, like the hope of spring when all things revive. I was about to put it into my mouth when, unexpectedly, all the leaves of the mutated grass quickly curled together, looking like a withered plant in autumn. Just as I was astonished, I heard Wen Qing shout loudly, "Don't! This mutated grass! It's mine!" An even more miraculous scene unfolded. Suddenly, a few lines of bullet comments floated across my eyes. What is Wen Miao trying to do? She's already eaten 2 mutated grasses, and she won't even give one to her sister. The pocket dimension hidden inside the mutated plant is the foundation for the male and female leads to accumulate resources. The opportunity was always Qingqing's. Didn't you notice that the grass had already withered? I stared in surprise at the floating comments before my eyes. It suddenly dawned on me that the time and space I was living in now was nothing more than a novel being spied on by others. And those who sent the floating comments could know the direction of the future plot. But what they didn't know was that because I had been reborn, the plot had become vastly different from my previous life. If this mutated grass was destined to be Wen Qing's opportunity, then if I couldn't have it, no one else should either. I pulled a windproof lighter out of my pocket, flicked it on with a click, and slowly brought it closer to the mutated grass. The floating comments began scrolling again. Wen Miao must be crazy. Does she know that what she's about to burn is the crucial foundation for the development of this world's plot? I pretended not to see what they were saying, the flame of the lighter getting closer and closer to the mutated grass. Just then, something miraculous happened. The mutated grass, which had completely withered just moments ago, seemed to receive rain and dew, gradually turning from yellow to green. The moment the lighter's flame approached the leaf, the entire plant restored itself to its original state. Thick, emerald green leaves covered in crystalline frost, just like the one I had handed to Wen Qing back then. A smile curled at the corner of my mouth as I stuffed it into my mouth as quickly as possible. It was like a fluffy marshmallow, quickly dissolving into a sweet, clear liquid similar to sugarcane juice once inside. Soon, a space as large as a football field appeared in my mind, and I could freely move around it with my thoughts. With this treasure, all I needed to do next was stock up on supplies. Wen Qing widened her eyes in disbelief. How could this be? The space was supposed to be mine. Just then, Gu Shiyan rushed up to the rooftop. Seeing Wen Qing crying, he probably understood the situation. "Didn't you say all of this was your destiny?" he roared, pushing her. I don't know why this happened either. Pushed by him, Wen Qing fell directly onto the rooftop, big tears streaming down her face. I stood across from her, smiling cheerfully. The rooftop was so hot, but luckily it had just rained, or even that fall alone could have caused burns. It seemed that in this life, Wen Qing had chosen Gu Shiyan, whom she had longed for, but still hadn't gotten the affection she expected. Shiyan, Feng has built a doomsday base in the south. If we go over there, what won't we have? We can trade supplies for mutant grass and get our hands on it eventually. Besides, I have a small space too, it's enough for us. I don't feel safe without you by my side. Jiang Xiaxia had somehow come up to the rooftop, holding a parasol and standing in the shade of the stairs, softly coaxing Gu Shiyan. She also had an ice pack in her hand, fanning herself with cold air. These things must have been taken out of her space. Gu Shiyan gave her a gentle look. Didn't I tell you to stay in the car? It's so hot outside, what if you get heatstroke? Shiyan, didn't you say she betrayed you and you've already forgotten her? Wen Qing watched the two exchanging glances and demanded loudly. She slowly got up, hurriedly moving herself into the shade to escape the heat. Betrayal? It's just a game of cat and mouse between lovers. Jiang Xiaxia snorted coldly, her eyes full of mockery. Don't you see? Your face is just a low-budget version of mine. Gu Shiyan stood by, reaching out to put his arm around Jiang Xiaxia's shoulder. Xiaxia, let's go. After saying that, he turned back to glance at Wen Qing. From now on, you don't have to follow me. Follow your sister instead. Don't say it, the male lead is pretty heartless. Gu Shiyan was the one who said he'd take care of Wen Qing, but as soon as the first love he had never gotten over returns, he turns his back on her. In the apocalypse, who still reads sweet romance novels? It's all about survival of the fittest. The comments continued scrolling as unseen readers debated Wen Qing's fate, but none of them could change what was happening. Wen Qing turned her gaze to me, her bloodshot eyes revealing a last glimmer of hope. I merely curled my lips indifferently and shook my head with a smile. I understood the danger of sparing someone who would eventually turn on me. In that instant, Wen Qing turned back resolutely and lunged at the two people ahead. By the time I walked over, Gu Shiyan and Jiang Xiaxia were already lying on the ground on the first floor of the villa. Jiang Xiaxia had passed out, while Gu Shiyan was clutching his right leg with a twisted, pained expression. The villa was 2.5 stories high, and since it was unfinished, there were no railings. The two of them had likely been caught off guard by Wen Qing's push. Gu Shiyan's bodyguards had already rushed in from outside and quickly gathered around him. Wen Qing, I treated you well, why do you want me dead? He angrily pointed upstairs. The bodyguard beside him immediately understood and dashed up the stairs. Treated me well. Wen Qing burst out laughing. I was nothing but a stand-in for the first love you never got over. The moment Jiang Xiaxia came back, I meant nothing. You knew my sister had abandoned me, yet you left me stranded. Wasn't that just waiting for me to die? Now that it's so hot and you're injured, your wound might get infected. If I can't survive, neither will you. She laughed loudly. Just then, the security guards had reached her. I quickly raised my hand and shot out 2 ice crystals. The crystals pierced straight through the guards' knees. They cried out in pain and tumbled down the stairs. Little sister, you must have been reborn too, right? I stood behind her, speaking in a leisurely tone. You. A flicker of surprise flashed in Wen Qing's eyes. Then she smiled knowingly. So that's it. In your past life, the man you were so devoted to, you've gotten him in this life. I looked down at Gu Shiyan, who was disheveled and bewildered, and found it laughable. Decades of sisterhood meant less than a man who had once made empty promises. Wen Qing suddenly started crying, hot tears streaming down her cheeks. Sister, I was really wrong. Please forgive me. You still helped me, which means you still care about our bond as sisters, right? I gently shook my head. Helping you deal with those 2 guards was just to show you that in this dog-eat-dog world, relying on anyone is worse than relying on yourself. Sister, I didn't give her a chance to speak again. I formed another ice crystal and drove it straight through her forehead. Human nature is inherently complex. A single thought can turn to good or evil. And I, for one, didn't want to gamble on the complexity of human nature in the apocalypse. The female lead's dead. What's the point of reading this crappy novel? Has the plot gone off the rails? Are they going to start over? Since the original female lead is dead, let's just pick a new one. I think Wen Miao would be fine. Yeah. A doomsday base boss and a superpowered beauty. I could ship that. The doomsday boss slowly warming her cold heart. Oh. I'm so excited. I ignored the floating comments of comments. Walked past Gu Shuryan. And without hesitation ended his life with an ice crystal. It wasn't senseless killing. I'd heard in my past life that Gu Shuryan was petty and vengeful. And the doomsday base he built, while claiming to shelter refugees, was actually about hoarding supplies, using cheap labor to fight zombies, and paving the way for expansion with human lives. Someone like that, once in power, would be a perpetual threat. After Gu Shuryan died, the comments that had been flashing before my eyes suddenly vanished. The world was finally quiet. I didn't want to become some so-called female lead. I just wanted to survive in this apocalypse. After leaving the villa area, I recruited Gu Shuryan's 2 bodyguards and their RV. Both bodyguards were the cream of the crop, each standing over 1.9 meters tall, with excellent physical fitness, skilled in martial arts and combat. In the apocalypse, fighting alone certainly eliminates the worry of being backstabbed by teammates, but people inevitably get drowsy. Finding a few teammates whose interests aligned with mine would make survival far more manageable. Taking advantage of the early days of the apocalypse, my 2 bodyguard teammates and I looted 2 large supermarkets and a grain and oil station, essentially stockpiling enough supplies to support a 10-person team for many years. After collecting several off-road vehicles, forklifts, and other utility vehicles, we also gathered a considerable amount of construction materials and tools, and then emptied a gas station of its fuel. With the help of the space, we had ample means of transportation. In just half a month, we returned to my hometown, Fuzhou. My hometown lay near a vast, rugged mountain range with steep terrain and few inhabitants. Later, I found 2 architectural engineers and a chef who had also consumed the ice crystal grass. In the mountains of Fuzhou, we selected a perilous mountainside, using a natural cave as a foundation to build an apocalypse fortress. The high-temperature apocalypse continued, and I had no idea when it would end. Even if it lasted 3 or 5 years, the fortress would allow my companions and me to live safely and comfortably.